It is truly my great honor to present to you the 2018 Cristo Rey Award to our corporate partner and friends, Holy Name Medical Center.
Good evening. Angelo, congratulations. It's a great honor, and for me to be able to share the podium with you is even more humbling and more of an honor for me. So thank you for all the great work you do. Father Bob, Father Greg, all the staff at Cristo Rey, thank you for what you do. Father, when you were talking before, it reminded me of a story a couple of years ago that I had forgotten. It just kind of popped back in. Sister Terry was telling me, this is a few years ago, she was at lunch one day with a Franciscan and a Jesuit, and she was relaying a story of how she was talking to the Archbishop about her desire to have a BMW and how should she go about getting that BMW. And he told her, he said, I'm not really sure, but probably the best advice I can give you is go, say 20 novenas and see what happens. And she turned to her companions at lunch, and the Jesuit and the Franciscan says, what do you think of that? And the Franciscan looked at her and he said, what's a BMW? And the Jesuit looked at her and said, what's a novena? If I could have snuck by when I was walking up, I would have grabbed Angelo's folder, because his remarks and his sentiment were almost identical to what I had in my mind as to what I wanted to sort of convey tonight, to the T, Angelo. It's kind of scary when those things happen, but I believe that happens a lot. Even the Devils, right? So here we are on the outskirts of Newark, and you and I should probably guilt Hugh Weber into a lunch. For those who don't know, Hugh Weber is the president of the Devils, and get him to become a sponsor at Cristo Rey and support what's going on here. Yeah. I wanna just acknowledge for us everything we do. I do this every time I get an opportunity publicly because we are a different organization. Everything that we do at Holy Name originates from the charism and the mission and the purpose of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace. Many of them are here today. And so I thank you, ladies, for your commitment, peace and justice, and the values that you stand for, that you've instilled in us, and that we try to live by every day. So that's a big, big part of where we come from. To all my staff, who actually are the ones who execute, and I mean, as you would know, we also find those documents and papers and computers somewhat boring on any given day as well. But they're the ones who actually make this happen, and especially with Cristo Rey, I want to acknowledge Jean Messner, who's been a longtime member of our staff. Jean has been point on making this happen and has done just an outstanding job. So thank you, Jean. To Steve's point earlier, Steve and I have become very close friends over the years, and we talk a lot about this in different forums, about leadership, about what's wrong with the world, about what's missing. You should also know that I'm a product of Bergen County. I was actually born at Holy Name, went to Bergen Catholic High School, and I now have been involved in that school. I have 4 sons, all graduates of Bergen Catholic, and then on to Providence College, where I went, my wife went, and surprisingly, all 4 of my boys went. As did my 2 brothers and nieces and nephews. It's a kind of a family affair. Nieces did not go to Bergen. I now sit on the sponsorship council that the Christian Brothers created around Bergen Catholic, like so many of the religious congregations, as they try to plan on the dwindling numbers and the aging of the brothers, who's going to take over, who's going to carry on. So they've created these joint religious and lay boards, very much like the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace have done, and many of the congregations, to sort of plan for a future, which to me is a sad one, in the day when men and women religious are not a vibrant part of our lives. sort of being that guidepost as to what we need to do when we stand in such troubling waters as we sit in today. And so I've been involved there, and I will tell you, when I talk to the students at Bergen, contrasting to Cristo Rey, I always challenge them because I'm a product of this, and I can assure you, and I remind all those young men up there, as you age in life, two things are for certain. Looks will fade, athletic ability will fade, right? Character will stay with you forever. So focus more on building your character, worry less about being the superstar athlete or being the good-looking guy, trying to get in the halls of IHA or Holy Angels, right? Those are the messages. And for us here at Holy Name, I try not to do this too often. The opportunity kind of swelled for me to do it. So when you look at our guiding posts, and this is what I think is an advantage we have in this very challenging time, especially in the healthcare space in New Jersey. Because we are religious, because we are faith-based, we can always turn publicly and talk about a different standard that unfortunately all my secular colleagues are sort of shunned from doing because that's the world we live in. They're not allowed to do it. It's not politically correct. And so we at Holy Name talk openly about it. And recently, in the troubled waters and troubled times, and you look at how could we have slipped so low. And I'm reminded often when I go back and I look at different things, my teaching, my education, there are really two rules, right? And if you read Matthew, not to quote scripture, because I'm not very good at quoting scripture, but it is Matthew 22, where he's asked, right? The Lord is asked, what are the greatest commandments? The first is to love the Lord thy God with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength. And the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. On these two, all others stand. All others stand. And when you go further into Matthew 25, he's also asked a question, and the response is, what you do unto the least of my brethren, you do unto me. Those tenets, when you think about them, as simple as they sound, those are in the fiber of everything we do at Holy Name. It's why we want to be involved with Cristo Rey. Because in this world that Angelo referenced, that is so troubled that we live in, the best of us, doesn't matter who you are. We know that, doesn't matter. Religious, lay, does not matter. We are all subject to the sins and the vulnerabilities of evil that exists out there, right? And so we have to look to each other and we have to remind each other what's important. If you go back and you return to those rules, right? And as Sister Brita, many, many years ago, I have the good fortune or misfortune in some cases, I guess people might say, I've been at Holy Name now for 32 years. When John Lloyd retires, I think I'm going to be the longest tenured CEO in the state of New Jersey. But I am not the oldest, by far. But Sister Brita, many years ago, I'd walked into my office, probably during one of my troubling times, and left a plaque for me that still sits there. And in this case, she quotes Micah, and Micah drilled it down to 3 laws, right? So to love tenderly, act justly, walk humbly with your God. Humility, and Steve and I have had this discussion in leadership forums, humility is a strength. It's not a weakness. It is an absolute strength. And when we have students like you have, Father Bob, Father Greg, at Cristo Rey, come to Holy Name, visibly, tangibly, as you heard, articulately, passionately talking about their future, their careers, what they can do, that is a reminder for all of us, everyone who touches them, everyone who sees them interacting, right, that they are, and I am thrilled that she was able to articulate that, we are all equal. We are all the same. In God's eyes, we are all one. We forget that. We let our humanity and our arrogance forget that. We are all the same. We all come from the same Creator. We're all blessed with the same soul, the same Spirit. They remind us of that. They are living proof, right? It's not rhetoric. It's not cheap words that are spoken, spun for some other meaning. You see it. It's real. It's genuine. You don't even have to talk. You just see it. That makes us at Holy Name so much better at what we do because it's a reminder. Every staff person that interacts with all our patients, with all the people that we are cared for, are reminded to do it humbly, to do it lovingly, compassionately, tenderly, because you are my neighbor. I may not know you, but you're my neighbor. In God's eyes, you are. And that's what the students remind us every day. As long as I can, and as long as I am at the helm, I can tell you, you can count on us to be part of the program. The benefits and the reward to our organization, I assure you, are far greater than what you may see on your side. And I would tout that to anybody else in the room who dares take the challenge. Try it, because you will be amazed at the energy and the refocus that you will have in whatever your business is when you engage with students like these. It's why we do what we do in Haiti, right? These are the things that make a difference, right? And to the darkness in the world, and Steve and I talked about it, I am a firm believer, and I am also, as my staff will tell you, a big cynic and a critic at a lot of stuff. So I am very cynical and critical of the elitism that has penetrated Bergen Catholic, right? Bergen Catholic's still around. They've lost their way. I am fighting upstream. I am that small salmon swimming up, trying to convince, including the Christian Brothers, that there's a lot bigger value here as to what Bergen has done, but we've lost our way. We need a little bit more humility. We need a little bit more of that character building. It's not just about how many Division I or NFL players we can tout graduated from Bergen Catholic. There's a much greater. Those things are great, but if they didn't build character, they're all for naught. And if they didn't build character around them. Cristo Rey isn't blessed with that nationally ranked football team, but Cristo Rey from the onset instills character. Those are where the future leaders in this very trying, yearning world for someone to shine the light. That's where it's going to come from. These students are the light. It's in all of us, but I am convinced that the best, the most effective, the most powerful leaders of tomorrow are going to come out of programs like this, not Bergen Catholic. And I say that with all humility, and I'm very proud. My 4 sons are graduates of Bergen Catholic, right? They're good men. They're all out in the workforce now. They're all doing well. But truth be told, I've spoiled them. They've lost their way. They've had a little bit of an easier life. They didn't have the hardships. They don't know what it's like to actually, I've made them work, and they know how it is to work hard, and I made them work hard labor, so they wouldn't know that early on, right? And I think that was a big part of their character building. But it's not the same. It's different when you know what's on the line. There's no safety net to catch you if you fall. That's a whole different realm of reality, right? We need to remember that. We need to instill that. We need to make sure that all of those, right, the 7.6 billion people that are on this planet, right, are all unique, wonderful human beings, all made in God's image. We have to remember that. That's what we see when your students come. So, Father Bob, Father Greg, Steve, everybody, Angelo, congratulations. I thank you all for that opportunity. For us, it's really a pride. You do great, great work, right? I am literally humbled and honored to be part of it, and I look forward to some great achievements in the future. Thank you.